Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today we are here for this session on successful living. So I am Dr. Subrata Chattopadhyay, Professor Business Administration, University of Engineering and Management, Kolkata, Dr. Subrata here. And with me, our respected and honorable dean, Professor Sundeep Singh Sondhi, sir, is also there. So he is my guest for today. But before we start, let me give a brief introduction of International Internship University. So International Internship University is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide and well reputed in delivering innovative programs. Globally, it is trusted name for quality training programs and is committed to providing better and virtual education to all the young learners across the globe. In a short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit sir, a committed and inspiring social activist and a passionate educationist from the last 2 decades, providing education to the students from various social and cultural backgrounds. So that's in brief about International Internship University. And here are we from University of Engineering and Management, Kolkata, India, for this talk show on successful living. So respected Dean sir, let us first understand when we talk about successful living, we talk about success, one word, and the other is living. Don't you think that this is an oxymoron, like, being successful on one side and living on the other side? When I say living, in this time, it means sustainable living. So what's your take on this?
Good evening, Professor Dr. Subrata Chattopadhyay, and good evening to everybody out there present. Actually, you have me in a fix because you already mentioned you believe it's an oxymoron. Actually, it totally depends. As per me, it depends. It's very relative because success is also very relative. I would say I have been successful in some parts of my life and not so successful in some other parts. So if we overall, if you overall want to combine all these parts and come up with a sum of it, maybe, not everybody is successful. So how do we measure success?
That's what.
So I would even say when we talk about living, successful living, because in life, a lot of people have different expectations. So when we are maybe, when we are small, when we are growing up, our expectations, maybe, like in our times, we never used to have these mobile phones and all. So our expectations were fine. We'll come from the school, we'll get ready, we'll just go out, have a grand time with our friends. That's what, and maybe, if we are playing football or we are playing a particular game and we would score a goal or maybe, we'll compete and we'll win something. We used to be successful and we used to be, really have a grand time just enjoying that success. But as we grow, our definitions also keep on changing. And to adapt to the successful, like you said, the measure of success, to adapt to others' measure of success, we actually keep on trying to do that all the time. And it becomes more and more difficult. Yes, so I would agree to a part of it, like you said, successful living. Because living, as I say, living is something wherein you just go all out and have a blast. And when you want to be successful and add living to that, it doesn't always come together. So you're not being yourself a lot of times.
So do you think, sir, then that when we talk about living, it is about happiness, right? Or is it success?
Okay, that's a good point. So most of the time, like I said, we keep on changing our definition of success. So we also keep on changing our definition of living. So earlier, I used to think that if I am going to make this kind of money, say I was making X amount of money, if I would make X plus kind of money, I would have a successful living, a successful life. And that would change everything in my life. And then when I started making that X plus, then there's another plus that got added to that. And then I would think, okay, if I can have a house of my own, if I can have that big car of my own, I would be more successful. So there is no end to it. But when you talk about living, I would equate that with how much useful am I to my fellow beings, my family, my friends, and all over my society. I would consider myself successful if I'm able to achieve that. That usefulness, actually, that usefulness, that measure, I would say, is what I, take it. Okay, on that particular measure, how do I rate?
So, sir, on the same lines, you have seen that, recently in India, the world's third richest businessman, Gautam Adani, he had lost his fortunes. He was a billionaire, and even today, there was a lot of loss. So, the richest person in the world, are they actually successful? In one of the recent interviews of Gautam Adani, which I heard, he was asked that you are the third richest person in the world. And he said that, it is just numbers. So I do not value that. I want to be, do something for the society, for the country, for the world at large, right? So my question is that are the, when you talk about richness, like you said that, you wanted, this thing, it was there on your desire list at some point of time. So, if you achieve everything in life, according to the Maslow's pyramid, like we say self-actualization. So when we talk about successful living, are the richest people in the world able to achieve their self-actualization? What do you think?
Okay. So as I understand, self-actualization is something to do with being, being the best in whatever you do.
So they have been the best in whatever they do. If you talk about, the richest person in the world, right? So he has been able to achieve.
Because if I just look back a bit, say, we talk about Dhirubhai Ambani.
Right.
When he came in with that public issue of his, he actually wanted to build value for his investors. So if a businessman can do that, and he actually built a lot of value, which is still continuing, I would say, that kind of businessman and that kind of thinking can actually bring self-actualization. But I would not like to comment on this Adani issue because still,
Yeah, that's understandable. No, I just wanted to say that, does richness make you actually successful in life? So that's what the discussion was.
So, Doctor, I actually don't agree to that.
Yeah.
Say, I'll just give an example. So I'm associated with an NGO. So whenever I go out along with them and just, meet children from the slums, from the villages, and just sit down with them and maybe, have lunch or nashta, whatever, we just sit down. That actually gives me a real high, which I don't experience anywhere else. Even if I buy simple copies for them to write and maybe color pencils and maybe, coloring books, that gives me a different high. I would say, at that point in time, that self-actualization, the thing that you were mentioning, I actually reached there. So it totally depends on what can give you a high. So a lot of people, they get a high by making money. So likewise, a lot of people, they might be getting high by creating a lot of value for their investors. Like, as I understand, you get a high by teaching students to be the best that they can be.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Yes. So it's different for different people. So it cannot be just, straight jacketed and put it in one of the, only this can actually bring you that self-actualization thing.
So I was listening to one of, the interviews, on a radio show, and they were telling that, if you want to be happy in life, right, live a plain and simple life. So as he said that, plain living, high thinking, right? And then the next point is that you be happy with your family, with the society, and, whatever is little is required. If you get that, be contented with that. So don't aspire more. But then you would appreciate that people have their own ambitions. And this, when we talk about ambitions and success and, living across generations, like you said that, in our generation or your generation, right, the definition of, being successful, like, say, for example, when, I was in school, people used to say that, two professions, one is either you become an engineer or a doctor, right? So, that was basically the yardstick. Now, what happens to those who could not achieve that? So I'll tell you a small story over here, sir, if you allow. So, two friends who studied in the same school. So one of the friends did, both of them actually approached in the engineering entrance examinations of the highest engineering institution, which is Indian Institute of Technology, IITs, right? And cracked it with a good rank and went for engineering. Now, the bosom friend of his, who, could not crack the examination, actually, lost touch with him because, he was doing his engineering in IIT and he went for a graduation. And after he finished off his graduation, he thought that, let me prepare for civil services. And this is a true story. So let me prepare for civil services. And, he actually prepared for civil services and cracked the IAS, which is Indian Administrative Service. And he was a district magistrate. Now, what happened is that in the district where he was in, there were some, infrastructure to be built. And so they needed to call one engineer. And what happened is, you can understand now, this IIT engineer was called. And he came and he got the surprise of his life that the friend of his, the bosom friend of his, with whom he had lost all touch and contact, thinking that he is good for nothing, right? And I am an IIT engineer. He, becoming the district magistrate, is now telling him what all he needs, and he has to cater to the needs of that particular IAS officer, that district magistrate. So life has its own turns and twists. And, one should not think that if I am not successful, maybe, at some stage of my life comes to an end. Now, each one of us, we set our own yardsticks of success. So the thing is that if we go by our ambitions, right? If you ask me, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a bus conductor. Okay, I wanted to be a bus conductor. And I think, many of us, whatever we dreamt of as a kid, and now, or, at later stages of life, our ambition actually changed. So, whether we have been successful in carrying out, whatever we have dreamt, to what extent, that actually depends. But what I think is that, whatever targets that you set in your life, right, you have to reach that particular goal. And I think that is the crux and essence of successful living. Sir, what is your take on it?
So, sir, what I've seen is, like, I'm also an engineer. Like, I completely understand the kind of story that you just said, that you just told. So there were a lot of people who actually could not crack pre-engineering test, as it was called, PET. During the times when I gave PET. So if I look back, all these students who could not crack, they're actually doing good in life.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, this story actually revolves with me. I completely agree. And so you are talking about targets. So like you also talked about simple living. And then you also talked about aspirations. So I have lived my life. I've been in North India. I've been in Delhi. So I worked in my initial days in Delhi. I've been in Bhopal. Now I'm in West Bengal. And at all these three places, what I find is the people in West Bengal are the most content people. Like you said, simple living. I found people here are very simple. And they are very open also. They're culturally very rich. And they believe in simple things. They don't run after money. Most of them, of course. That also varies.
So that's why Kolkata is the city of joy. Just to interrupt.
Yes, I was just coming to that.
Kolkata is the city of joy, and West Bengal is probably the cheapest state in the world. So
the cheapest from the perspective of living, because mentally everybody is very rich here. Culturally very rich. Heritage, they actually, it's like they cherish it to a great extent. So I actually have that word as, when we talk about this being content and, simple living, I would say, a lot of people actually also try to move toward minimalism. But is it actually achievable? I'm not too sure. Because then people actually say that you should, take moksha and maybe, go to Himalayas and do your tapasya and that kind of stuff. Because being a minimalist is not such an easy thing. And when you have a family to cater to, because even if you don't have your ambitions and aspirations, maybe your family members have. And it definitely out there, you need to cater to them. So being, so in my family, this is what I see, like if my daughter or my son, they would like to study further, then definitely I have to cater to that. And how do I cater to that? If I am a minimalist and I would like them also to follow my route, it doesn't actually, so it just cannot be. They have a life of their own. Of course, both of them are doing good. But my point was, if you take some targets and you want to achieve those targets, you cannot leave your surroundings behind. You have to cater to your surroundings as well. And the point that I made earlier, how useful are you to your fellow men, to your family, to your friends? You have to take them together. You just cannot, so you just cannot become a Buddha overnight and just walk out. It doesn't happen to all of us, any of us for that matter, that easily. So this is my response to your question.
Yes, sir. Truly agreed. So it is said that, there are, 4 key elements involved in living a successful life. Again.
Okay, I would like to know. Yeah.
So, one is you set your clear goals. We were talking about goals and targets, etc. The next is you foster healthy relationships.
Okay.
Now, I'll come to this because when we talk about relationships have become, artificial, and they are superficial also, so to say. And the next is you look after yourself, and also you take care of the external world. Now, so that brings 2 elements. One is your personal successful living, and the other is your professional successful living. Now, this is a dilemmatic situation because many a times we are compromising on our personal successful living to the organizations that we work for, to be professionally successful. And sir, I think that there is no end to it. Because if you are talking about success, then, the moment you achieve a particular level, the aspirations again increase. Which means that there is no end to success. So the thing is that I'm taking this in a different perspective since we have global audience out here. So many of us are from developing countries, like, in India. So the BRICS nations, so to say, and the developed countries. So I think that successful living in a developed economy would be different, as we were discussing on the West Bengal perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
From a developing economy. So over there, probably, the things which are available and the facilities which are available would actually make people aspire for higher levels of success, which may be redundant for people in the developing economies. Now, having said that, you see, many of us, we reach different levels of success in life.
Yeah, definitely.
And we, at times, take a recollection that what actually we wanted to be and what we actually are. And you will see, sir, over the decades that we live, you will see that these key things for successful living also changes in life. So, sir, I would just like to know, say, for example, if you talk about US or UK or Singapore, for example, right, in the developed countries, is successful living different from the developing countries? We've been discussing. So in the developed nations also the same thing applies, or is it the same? So when we talk about successful living, it is the same thing across. Am I audible, sir? Yeah.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay.
That's a difficult question to answer because I have only stayed in India, which is still a developing country. But I've been interacting with a lot of global audience. If I look at, so one is, you look at the personal success, when we talk about the personal success. So in India, a lot of people, when they move out and they go to a developed nation, they consider mostly themselves to be successful.
Absolutely.
Just reaching that destination. Reaching that destination from the perspective that they are required there. And now this is where I bring in the professional success as well. They are required there for the kind of knowledge and the skills that they have developed. So in this moving out from one country, from a developing country to a developed country, both personal and professional successes actually show up. And this is, so basically, even if the people around you, they don't, feel that you are still successful, you yourself start feeling that you have done something extraordinary by reaching there. One is that. Secondly, the people in that country, they don't feel any different from you because they are running their own race in a way that you are running your own. So the parameters, because the parameters for me in India, me as a person, if I go to another nation and people out there, everybody is running their own race. So at an individual level, you might feel different. You might feel you've become successful. But out there, when you go, everybody is, again, they've been living there. And if you consider yourself successful, then they are also successful. The people who have been behind in the developing country, I also feel they are not doing bad as such. Because when I compare, so usually I should not compare because this is a global audience. The intellectual level that we have in India is definitely at par with what we have outside. And definitely, I also rate our people, our generations or younger generation a lot superior in their knowledge and skills, the way they are developing themselves, than a lot of nations. And a lot of countries are actually trying to compete with us. So as a nation, if I see, definitely I would feel very proud to be an Indian and as being successful. But it's also a global perception. And that global perception will keep on changing all the time. So it's very dynamic. But one thing is for sure, the parameters on which a person in a developed nation would rate themselves to be successful might be a bit different from what we in India might feel, or in a developing nation might feel.
The yardsticks differ from country to country, especially in the developed nations, since the availability of the resources are there in a better way. So naturally, it is, some notches higher. But then we are actually, reaching a situation wherein, it's becoming borderless. And, people are interacting.
Because in developing nations, I would also say a lot of people, they just keep striving for the basic necessities, which in developed nations, they take for granted. Those things are already available. So they are sitting at a higher platform, and definitely if they try harder, they will be catapulted to a much higher platform. Whereas we are still grappling with the basic necessities to put them right.
Very true.
Definitely the yardsticks differ.
So, taking a different perspective, it is said that, if you are able to see the good in everything. Now, this is a very difficult thing because, many of us are very skeptical, and whenever, a particular situation arises, right, we analyze, the bad things first and, focus on that. But if we take, life as it is and see the good in everything, probably, that would make us happy. It may not be, it will lead us to success, but then the personal success would be there. Why? Because I am just being able to see, whatever happens is for good. Right? If I tell to myself that if whatever happens is for good, right, then I will always think good. I will always think positive. So, thinking positive, is that the foundation of successful living, sir? If you think positive, if you live positive, right, and you think positive about yourself, about, everyone, right, does that actually render success?
So I remember there used to be a book. I'm just forgetting the author. The book's name was The Power of Negative Thinking. So I still remember, it actually tells you in every situation, if you look at the cons of the situation and prepare yourself well, you'll most probably be successful in that particular situation. So it's not about just looking at the positives. How well are you prepared for the worst? That also actually matters, as per me. So whenever, in a professional situation, like you said, if you look at the good part, I'll give you some examples. So I faced a lot of situations wherein I was given some team members. So I was in business development, sales. I used to be given some team members who would not be performing in some other teams. So I could have also rejected them. But like you said, if you start looking at the good in others, or taking it that everything is going to be positive, so I would take them in, I would train them, and again put them into the field. And honestly, I have never failed in getting results from them. But again, coming back to the point of looking at the negatives, what if they don't perform? But you need to take care of that by training them initially. So if you're prepared for the worst, then definitely you'll be able to extract the best out of the situation. So you just cannot take things for granted. You just cannot take that, taken that AI is going to take over humans and AI is actually going to rule us. Fine. You need to be prepared for that. And how do you prepare for that? Now, that's a big question. I think a lot of thinkers are already working on that.
Yeah. So, we as humans, right, when technology was not there to that extent,
Yeah.
for example, and life has become so very I would say routine and mundane in a sense that we are technologically dependent. So even as a family, you will see that the screen time for each people in the family is increasing. So there was a survey wherein it was found that the average screen time among the youth is around 12 to 13 hours. So which means that if you are taking the sleeping time as say around 6 hours to 7 hours, so which means that only 5 hours of the entire 24 hours you are without any technical device, maybe your mobile phone or your laptop. And many a times you will see that I've seen in different office meetings, as well as even when family discussions are happening, right? Even while the thought exchange is going on, right? Yeah. People are glued to their mobile.
Yes, definitely. All the time.
Which actually restricts the joyful living and the purposeful life. So when we talk about successful living, these are small things which I think with time and with the adoption of technology,
yeah,
many of us are actually becoming a slave of technology instead of technology being an enabler for us. So I think, you are talking in the same lines with AI and metaverse, etc. Right? Many a times we even forget to, exchange greetings in person, and we are comfortable using the different apps or social media, right? So in a way, as I was telling, that it has become not a very natural way of life. So it is rather a sort of cover, or sort of what I should say, pseudo living in a sense, right? That means that as a person, when I was, or when I am without any device, any technological device, then I was a different person. But then with technology, what has happened is the stress has increased a lot, and people are getting many types of diseases also, which actually is affecting the lifestyle. So the lifestyle actually is affected in a big way because of adoption of technology. And I would not say adoption, I would rather use the word addiction to technology, right? Which I think is hurting the Gen Z and the generation below across the globe. Recently, sir, we were in Singapore, and you must have noticed, I have noticed that people waiting for the public vehicles, right, in the different bus stands, they all, even if they are going with their colleague or their family, etc., they are busy with their mobile phones, or busy watching movies, even or whatever it is, videos, or, taking snaps, etc. Right? Which
Yeah,
means the natural way of life and the enjoyment is perhaps taking a backseat. Forget about happiness. So when we talk about successful living, as I said, that, seeing good in everything and turning a bad situation into a good one. So that may be a success for people, or it can be that you turn a disappointment into a success. So like you very successfully did, that people who are considered that they are failures by others, you have actually mentored them, supported them, nurtured them, developed them, and actually helped them to live a successful life and come back to their own path wherein they were failures at different points of time.
definitely.
So, another thing which I have noticed, possibly, all here, you would agree to it, which is that, the youth, they are possibly not very accustomed to taking failures.
Definitely.
So many a times, what happens is that because they do not have proper guidance or, motivation or support, many a times what happens is that they take serious, steps leading to ending their life, possibly at times. So chasing success so as to achieve a living, maybe a good ambition. But then, if I am a failure,
Yeah,
then how do I again, come back to life? There has been numerous instances of people who have failed in their personal life, in their professional life, in, establishing. There are, I think, thousands of examples of failed ventures. But successful are those, possibly, in their lives, who take failures in their stride, learn the lessons, and come back with renewed vigor. And that possibly leads to happiness and joy. So there is no particular path to success. And with the world changing so very fast, in our times, there are specific careers. So, the youth can take up different careers this time.
definitely.
And they can be successful. But then one has to understand, possibly, sir, that one has to be at peace with himself or herself in life. And that possibly is successful living. So you encourage others, bring happiness in others, and don't be negative, right? And these all possibly leads one to live a successful life. Because when we grow old, when we retire, then we think that what all we have done in life, the recollection happens. And it happens, as we work, and, after we work, when we retire. And maybe, many people feel that, whatever I, my groundings, my family upbringing, etc., from, one particular level, that I have achieved this level, I am successful. Some people feel that, well, there are others. They think about others, look unto others, and think that these people have been able to achieve so much of success. So I am particularly a failure. I'll tell you, another small story, and this is about one of my friends who actually could not crack the engineering entrance examinations again, and went on to do his Bachelor of Science in Physics honors from Presidency College, Kolkata, India.
Okay.
And I met him during his MSc days. So, when I was doing my MSc in Physics, we used to be the backbenchers, and, we used to sit together.
Yeah.
And this friend of mine, he actually cracked, TIFR, which is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and went on to do his PhD in astrophysics. Now, there is an entrance test called Joint Entrance Screening Test, JEST, which is for the different physical sciences.
Okay.
Now, it is for physics, chemistry, mathematics, etc. Now, I also appeared for that test, and I also scored 98 percentile in that particular year. So I was told by my parents that, you complete your MSc, now if you go for interviews to the different universities from where you are getting calls, your MSc studies may be affected because your exams are just nearby. He went on for the interviews. He cracked TIFR, went on to become an astrophysicist, did his PhD, and after that he did his postdoc from Japan.
Okay.
And after that, he realized that I have done, so much of study in physics, astrophysics, etc. Am I actually successful? So I think I need to do something for the society.
Yeah.
And then he thought that let me prepare for IAS, which is Indian Administrative Examination. Yeah. And as you can understand, IAS has a particular age till which you can appear.
Yeah.
So he just had 2 years. And he prepared by himself with subjects he had never studied in life, like anthropology, sociology, history, etc. And his All India rank was 232. So he went on to become an IAS, but narrating his story, what happened is you have to pick on, what service you want to join. Administrative service, foreign service, right? So police service, whatever it is. So he left that portion blank. And what happened is that when the results came out, his gradation was there, but then he was not given any appointment. Why? Because he did not actually specify what he actually wants. And the government of India told that all the appointments should be there, and lastly, your appointment will be taken care of. So he joined a particular college to teach, engineering and physics, etc., basic sciences. And meanwhile, this went on. And this went on for 6 years.
6 years.
This went on for 6 years. And, he joined at a much lower level as, and he didn't get, the promotions and, whatever he was supposed to get in all these years, which his batchmates, the people who passed along with him, he didn't get. And after 6 years, he actually got, whatever accruals from the government. And today, he is the joint director or director of Defense Research Development Organization, he was there, and now possibly he is in Ordnance Factory Board as the director. So what I wanted to say, sir, is that life has its own twists and turns.
Yes, yes, definitely.
And it is the patience, the endurance, the passion that you have, which actually leads one to success. So, my concluding remarks is that everyone can be successful, but then don't force success to happen in your life. Live life happily and be successful. Sir, if you want to add something, you can do, or else we'll stop over here.
I just want to say, like, you talked about Gen Z and you talked about the current generation. So what I've also observed is they have this FOMO, which actually, takes away the happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So at my age, maybe I have realized. So I believe more in this joy of missing out, which is like JOMO. So I actually don't fret over things if I miss out something. And that keeps me content. Maybe that also gives me time to attend to where I need to focus. So like you talked about technology, people are totally, almost always connected. So they are also connected to their social media. Now, how much can they restrict? Because if they restrict, they will have their FOMO. And when the FOMO sets in, there are a lot of negative vibes. And it's like a spiral. So somewhere that social media, that FOMO, all actually comes together and gives you a feel, okay, life is not worth it. So somewhere you need to draw a line. You need to understand where you need to focus. And once you have done that, I think things will, all fall in place. I totally agree with you, whatever you said as a concluding remarks, and I'm all for it. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for joining, despite your busy schedule. And I would like to thank Armina madam and, respected and beloved Piyush Pandit sir, the founder of International Internship University, and all the audience for your patience and kind hearing. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.